Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On this momentous occasion of unveiling of the electric vehicles and energy storage policy 2020-2030, we from Telangana government and our knowledge partners from Yes Bank welcome all of you sitting here today. In addition to this, we have gone in hybrid mode today, wherein we also have people attending virtually, which includes dignitaries from ARAI, ICR, Invest India, MITI, and all across the country. A warm welcome to all of you, especially those guests who have joined us virtually from the web. I now hand you over to Sri Sujay Karampuri, Director Electronics, EV and ESS System, to the podium for his opening address.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here for the first EV Summit from Telangana, where we are unveiling our policy for electric vehicles and energy storage solutions. So I just want to, before we speak about the policy and its details, I just want to give you an idea of how we have approached this and what it means for us. So first, the policy is enforceable and binding. It has the cabinet approval, and yesterday the GO was released. So therefore, various departments who are the stakeholders, it is incumbent upon them to enforce this over the next 10 years. Two, it is quite comprehensive in the sense that we may be probably one of the few states who says that it is just not electric vehicles, but it is also energy storage solutions. Two, we not only take care of the adoption by the common man and the users, but we also encourage a lot of manufacturing to take care of this particular adoption. So that means we are taking care of the adoption, being a consumer, but we are also a producer as a state. So these are some of the things that we have incorporated into the policy, both the adoption side and also the production side. Three, it is quite pragmatic and elastic. So I'll tell you what it means. We have incorporated only those elements which can be enforced and can also be subsidized and incentivized with a real, government funding. So, you may look at some of the caps, for example, on how many vehicles we subsidize. So do not be deterred or daunted by those numbers, because it is elastic in the nature, in the sense that if we do indeed meet those targets, we have the capacity to increase it, because the policy is between 2020 to 2030. So that's another part of this. And also, it shows that being pragmatic in the sense that we have subsidized where it matters the most. So two things. One is the subsidy goes to the common man the most, because the two-wheeler, three-wheeler, then four-wheeler and the buses. But also when it comes to manufacturers, various states tend to give a lot of subsidies only to the big guys. But in our case, we also give the subsidy to the smallest of the producers as well. And the third part is it's collaborative in nature. So, EV as a technology has come about with, it's an interdisciplinary effort, right, between chemical, electronic, materials, chemical, various engineering fields have to come together. In the same way, various departments have to come together to make this happen. And that is what we are doing. This policy comes with a steering committee which will implement this policy and make recommendations to the policy over the next 10 years. And that also is one of the features of our policy. So with that, I leave this particular thing open for various speakers. I think the next speaker is our chief guest, Mr. Goenka. Why don't you give an introduction? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Our next speaker actually would be Mr. Sunil Mehta, Chairman, Yes Bank, who would be giving his welcome address. Sri Sunil Mehta, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Honorable Minister Shri K.T. Ramarao, Honorable Minister Shri Ajay Kumar, Dr. Pavan Goenka, MD and CEO Mahindra & Mahindra, Shri Jayesh Ranjan, Principal Secretary, Industries and Commerce, IT, Electronics and Communications, Government of Telangana. Shri Sunil Sharma, IAS Principal Secretary, Transports, Roads and Buildings, Government of Telangana. Shri Randeep Singh, Senior Specialist, NITI Aayog, and Shri E.V. Narasimha Reddy, Vice Chairman and MD, PSIIC, and esteemed speakers, industry colleagues and friends from media. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the Telangana EV Summit. On behalf of Yes Bank, I congratulate the government of Telangana for developing the Telangana electric vehicle and energy storage policy for 2020 to 2030. We hope that the policy acts as a catalyst for accelerating adoption of EVs in the state and also becomes an enabler for development of a robust EV manufacturing ecosystem. Yes Bank is privileged to be associated with the government of Telangana I'll repeat, there was some disturbance. Yes Bank is privileged to be associated with the government of Telangana and to have supported the policy development by facilitating industry stakeholder outreach. Telangana is recognized globally for its immense contributions across industries and particularly in the IT and pharmaceutical sectors. The state, under the leadership of Honorable Chief Minister Shri K. Chandrasekhar Rao, has been undertaking several progressive initiatives for creating a favorable business environment. The government's commitment towards growth and overall development is evident from the state's impressive performance in the recently announced Ease of Doing Business rankings. My special compliments to Shri K.T. Ramarao for his dynamic and growth-oriented leadership. On my several interactions, Mr. K.T. Ramarao, with you, my respect grows with every interaction with you, and I know with the kind of leadership and the leadership skills that you display, I have no doubt that Telangana and Hamara Bharat will eventually become Mahan as we all want it to be. Initiatives such as T-Works and T-Hub are highly commendable and play a key role in promoting innovation and entrepreneurship. Now, with the launch of the EV and energy storage policy and plans for development of EV manufacturing zones, Telangana is taking rapid strides towards emerging as a leader in electric mobility. India currently lacks battery cell manufacturing capabilities and we are largely dependent on imports. Telangana government may accord higher focus on such segments for a strong positioning across the EV ecosystem. We are confident that the state is highly capable of doing so under the industrious leadership of Shri KTR Guru. The EV market in India is expected to become a huge opportunity with scope for innovations and global collaboration. Rapid electrification of vehicles expected in the medium term will put India on the map of global automotive value chain. Stakeholders across the value chain need to work collaboratively to build competencies and gain synergies in order to seize this opportunity. The government's push towards domestic manufacturing has been a major driving force behind the levels of localization achieved so far. However, during several of our stakeholder deliberations, a key point that has emerged is for further localization, certain scale and volumes are necessary. Without this, we may end up adding to the cost of vehicles, thereby impacting demand. We believe incentives on demand side will be the primary drivers to generate the required scale. The Government of India has taken several initiatives to drive demand, and it is indeed exciting to see several states coming out with various financial and non-financial initiatives to promote the adoption of EVs. Also, a partnership-led approach has the potential to reduce upfront costs while maintaining control over the product and service. It will also increase the trust factor amongst consumers. This will enable the development of a roadmap for ramping up domestic manufacturing capabilities in a phased manner. Moreover, government is also an important customer segment, and greater adoption across all levels has the potential to be a significant enabler for creating scale. Currently, we are witnessing a realignment of global business strategies amid increasing call for diversification of supply chains. With our priorities right, we will not only be able to emerge as a major market, but also become an export-oriented hub. With this context, I welcome my friends from the industry for the virtual panel discussion on scaling Indian EV business through partnership and collaboration. This is to be moderated by Shri Jayesh Ranjan. Shri Ranjan has been spearheading Telangana's journey towards electric mobility and leading the policy development process. I have known Shri Ranjan for a considerable time. Telangana is blessed to have a bureaucrat like him, and sometimes I wonder whether he's a bureaucrat or an entrepreneur, but he's a great concoction of both. We have with us today Dr. Pavan Goenka, who is at the helm of Mahindra & Mahindra, a company which is the pioneer of India's EV revolution. As the leading captain of the industry, Dr. Goenka's thoughts and insights on the subject will set the course of the discussion. Yes Bank has been partnering several state governments and city administrations and supporting them in their e-mobility plans. Through our banking and advisory teams, we are committed to collaborating and working together with the government and the industry for development of e-mobility ecosystem in India. Financing has been identified as one of the foremost impediments on the adoption side, and we are actively working in this space towards developing suitable financing options. I assure you of Yes Bank's full support in this journey going forward. With this concluding remark, I once again congratulate the government of Telangana and hope today's deliberations translate into concerted action. Thank you and all good wishes.
Thank you so much, sir, for the electrifying speech in this EV ecosystem, and thank you for being a knowledge partner and making this happen today. We next have Ms. Anna Roy, a Senior Advisor from Niti Aayog, for the keynote address. Ma'am, the stage is all yours. She will be speaking virtually.
I don't think we can hear.
I don't think we are getting audio on the.
Mr. Goenka, could you hear my speech?
Yeah, I can hear you, but not others.
Okay.
What we'll do is we'll shift Ms. Roy to the next slot. In the meanwhile, we'll fix up the audio and video. In the meanwhile, we would request Dr. Pavan Goenka, MD and CEO of Mahindra & Mahindra Limited, our chief guest for today, for his special address.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Dr. Goenka, yes.
Honorable Minister Sri KTR and Sri Ajay Kumar, Jayesh Ranjan, and other officers from the state of Telangana, Sri Sunil Mehta, and appears. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be present here today on this very important occasion of the launch of EV policy of the state of Telangana. When I had met Sri Ramarao last time physically, and that was eternities ago now looks like, he had promised to me that very soon the state will come out with an EV policy, and here we are today announcing the EV policy. At Mahindra, we are celebrating 75 years of our group, and the state of Telangana holds very special significance for us. For the auto and tractor business, which is our core business, we have one of our large plants in the state, in the city of Hyderabad, where we have invested over 1,000 crores in the last couple of years, and we are employing over 4,500 people. Our tractor plant in Hyderabad is one of the largest plant in Asia under one roof. Hyderabad is the home of Tech Mahindra's largest global delivery center, employing over 19,000 people. And Tech Mahindra is looking to expand further in the state as they grow their requirement for people. Additionally, other Mahindra Group companies such as Mahindra Finance, Mahindra Sustain have a growing presence in Telangana. And very importantly, July this year, Mahindra Group launched its Mahindra University, spread over a 130-acre campus in Hyderabad. Overall, as Mahindra Group, we are very happy to partner with the state and its people on the road to progress and prosperity. I would like to thank the state for the support that they have always given us. We also have future plans for the state. We are developing a new tractor series called K2. This is being developed actually in Japan, and this is by far our most ambitious tractor product development project ever. And we have decided that Hyderabad plant will be the sole location in India to manufacture this tractor. This will lead to more than doubling employment in the tractor plant. We are also looking to bring our next phase of expansion in electric vehicles to the state, thanks partly to the policy that is being announced today. I would like to congratulate the government of Telangana for the launch of the state EV policy, which will be unveiled very soon. It's a very progressive step towards ushering in sustainable mobility. Policy covers all aspects of electric vehicles: demand generation by removing registration charge and road tax, facilitating charging infrastructure development, concessional electricity rates for charging, and investment incentive for setting up plants, including a focus on electronics. And I think this is the very first time that I'm seeing an incentive for electric tractors, which can lead to another revolution on the farm. But frankly, I must say that India is lagging other progressive nations in adaptation of electric vehicles. Several European countries, USA, China, Korea, are way ahead of us. Government of India has been putting a thrust on EVs for over 3 years now, but it has not yet yielded desired results. May the state support that is coming in now, that was a missing link, and now the several states like Telangana incentivizing electric vehicles, we would see the EV revolution happen. I must admit that with lower GST, with FAME incentives and the state incentives that are beginning now, the government has done its task. The onus now is on the manufacturers, service providers, and end users to help adaptation of electric vehicles. So the first question is, what needs to be done by each stakeholder? I believe that manufacturers have to invest in technology, product, and capacity. As of now, the product offerings are very limited, and except at the very low end, the products are far too expensive. Electric vehicle space is very hot globally. All global OEMs are investing a lot in EVs, but in India, they seem to be in a wait and watch mode. It is important that we use India's frugal approach to make electric vehicles affordable. As far as service providers are concerned, it is time that the ride-hailing companies and other fleet operators jumped on the electric vehicle bandwagon. Yes, EVs are still slightly more expensive on cost per kilometer basis, but with little increase in volume, they will come on par in no time. And for the end users, I think everyone understands the benefit to the air quality by use of electric vehicles. And that's something that's very, very badly needed in India. And the consumers also therefore need to be willing to pay a slight premium for use of electric vehicles. And as far as government is concerned, as I said, a lot has already been done. Little more push perhaps is required to get into a virtuous cycle of electric vehicle growth. For example, can electric vehicles be given priority sector lending status, at least for commercial applications? Now let me talk about sectors. I've said this in the past, that India's biggest need is to improve the air quality in our cities. And for this, large-scale adaptation of electric vehicles in shared mobility and last-mile connectivity is what India needs. Fortunately, the sector that is perhaps most primed for electric vehicle explosion is the three-wheeler sector, both people and load carrier. Mahindra had launched just a load carrier trio Zor just yesterday. This segment has three things going for itself. Number one, the many startups as well as organized players that have already launched products in the segment. Number two, the service providers' financials work out. As per our calculations, an operator will earn about 60,000 rupees more per year by using electric three-wheelers. And number three, there is no expensive charging infrastructure required. A swappable battery solution is also being experimented with. The sector that is poised to take off in personal mobility space is the two-wheeler sector. Again, many products available, mostly by startups, and now the majors are getting into the electric vehicle two-wheeler segment also. Then there's a lot of interest in buses. Many state corporations are moving, state transport corporations are moving into OPEX model. It appears to me that saving significantly in addition to the environmental benefit that they're getting. And therefore, this segment also is ready for electric vehicle adaptation. The segment where the jury is still out is the car and SUV segment. And as I said earlier, for shared mobility, where a car is driven maybe 150 kilometers a day, we are almost at a break-even point. But for personal ownership, where driving maybe only about 50 to 70 kilometers a day on an average, financial equation yet does not work out. But there are many who may be willing to spend a little more for a clean mobility solution. Changing the track, I also believe that India has a huge opportunity to become the world leader in shared mobility and last mile application of electric vehicles, and become a supplier of technology and products to the world in this space. For this to happen, it is a must that businesses invest in technology development. India must have its own IPR, and electric vehicles can really make a huge contribution to Atmanirbhar Bharat. Electric vehicles still have a lot of import content. It is important that we focus on local value addition, and that's where again the electric vehicle policies come in handy. I would suggest that a pragmatic approach is taken for local value addition. Rather than wishing for a plant for lithium-ion cells, which requires a very huge investment, I suggest that we leave that aside till we have large enough scale. In the meantime, we should focus on cell to module to battery conversion. This can be easily done. We should focus on getting motors, transmission fully manufactured in India. This can be easily done. We need to focus on power electronics localization. This can be done, but will require effort, as India is by and large not cost competitive in this sector. Thus, 60 to 70% of value addition of EVs can happen in India even without the cells being manufactured here. As far as Mahindra is concerned, we are fully committed to electric vehicles. We have already launched 5 products, latest being yesterday. 2 more will be launched this year. Others are also launching products. We have invested over 1,000 crores, have a commitment of another 500. We have 11,500 3 and 4 wheelers flying on Indian roads. Cumulatively, they have covered 250 million e-kilometers and saved 25,000 tons of CO2. And we would like to see more and more companies invest in electric vehicles so that electric vehicle movement can gather momentum. And frankly, as I said earlier, EVs are a unique opportunity for India, not just to improve our air quality, reduce crude oil import, but also to be a leader in the shared mobility and last mile connectivity space globally. Lastly, the transition to a clean and efficient mobility ecosystem in India will not be possible without the partnership of sub-national governments. And I do hope that today's announcement will set the stage for a comprehensive partnership between cities, state and central governments, along with the private sector and civil society. Hyderabad obviously is a city that can very rapidly increase its EV uses, especially in shared mobility and last mile connectivity space. And I request the state to really focus on the city of Hyderabad to make it EV capital of India in terms of uses of electric vehicles. I once again thank the Telangana government for this very progressive step for launching the EV policy and also giving me an opportunity to express my views on electric vehicles. I look forward to the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Your speech really charged us up, and we are on our way towards implementing the EV policy and getting the ecosystem here. Ms. Roy's system has been put okay, and now we'll have Ms. Anna Roy from Niti Aayog to kindly address us.
Good morning, Honorable Minister, my colleagues from the Government of Telangana, Jayesh Ranjan, the industry leaders, and the sponsors. First of all, I would like to apologize on behalf of Mr. Kant, who was supposed to be participating in this event, but due to some personal exigencies, he had to pull out, and he has asked me to step in and share the Niti's view on this very important initiative that has been launched by Government of Telangana today. cooperative federalism is part of the mandate of Niti Aayog. And in true spirit of cooperative federalism, Niti Aayog endeavors to collaborate with various state governments in all our major initiatives. In frontier technology especially, Government of Telangana is one of the oldest and closest partners, and we are implementing several projects with them. Similarly, in EV, we look forward to working with Government of Telangana now that they have come out with their policy. And it is really heartening to see how broad the policy is and how multifaceted the policy is, where it is addressing the entire spectrum of EV and not concentrating on any particular segments alone, which is really the need of the hour. And the mission, the EV mission, which Niti Aayog has been driving, has also been focused on all the facets, whether it is storage, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is standards. It is a multifaceted approach which Niti Aayog is following. Standards is an important issue, and a lot of work has been done on standards lately by Niti Aayog, and we hope to come out with a policy soon. Secondly, on the FAME, it was mentioned by our previous speakers, and on FAME 2, we are ready to launch. The advisory board is in place, and hopefully FAME 2 will achieve the desired results for accelerating the manufacturing. The one important thing on which I will like to stress and in my observation is that we should not ape a particular country, and our policies and our initiatives should be focused on the context, the Indian context. So what is the demand like? What is the user framework like? Are we really are we really aligned to the West when we talk about the user framework, or is our ecosystem different? So that is one area which Niti Aayog has been working on, and in view of Niti Aayog, our OEMs presently are quite capable in meeting the kind of demand that the ecosystem throws up. And we feel that all our policies, all our initiatives need to be aligned with the context, and we should develop our own narrative, and we should have our own curated policies and initiatives to achieve the big goal that we have set for ourselves. Climate change is an important thing. EV is an important part of it. Niti Aayog also practices what it preaches. All our vehicles are today EV. And going forward, we look forward to collaborating with Government of Telangana in this area as well. And only when state governments take such important initiatives can important policies which are pan-India really achieve success. So I wish the Telangana
I think there's a glitch again. I thank Ms. Roy also for her speech. Thank you so much, ma'am. Despite your hectic schedule, if you are listening to us, you could spare some time and speak to us. Next, we'll have the unveiling of the EV and energy storage policy. I would request VC and MD TRS Redco, Mr. Janaya, also to come on the stage. And also VC and MD TSIC, Mr. E.V. Narasimha Reddy Garu, please come on the stage. Thank you so much, sir. For our virtual participants, the EV policy has been uploaded on the website. You may kindly have a look if you would wish to. I now request I now request Sri Jayesh Ranjan, IS Principal Secretary, to cover the policy highlights for the EV and ESS policy.
Honorable Minister for Industries, IT and Urban Development, Shri KT Ramarao Garu, Honorable Minister for Transport, Shri Ajay Kumar Garu, respected Principal Secretary for Transport, Shri Sunil Sharma Garu, colleagues from the government, senior company representatives who are very soon going to be a part of Telangana's EV ecosystem, invitees, most importantly, Dr. Pavan Goenka ji, Mr. Sunil Mehta, Ms. Anna Roy, other participants who have joined this platform virtually, members of the media. First of all, it's a very milestone day for all of us when our honorable ministers have launched the EV and ESS policy. This is a policy which has been prepared after intensive stakeholder consultations. We had multiple rounds of consultations. We followed the FAME guidelines very closely so that we are not misaligned with what Government of India thinks. And finally, I feel very proud that we have been able to come up with a very comprehensive and a very practical policy. There are millions and millions of policies in our country, but the criticism usually is that these policies don't translate into action. So we have taken care to ensure that only those provisions are put in the policy which are actionable, and there is an ownership by some government agency or the other for implementing those components. I would like to very quickly share the key highlights of the policy which our honorable ministers launched just now. The policy is available on our website. You can go to the Invest Telangana website, invest.telangana.gov.in, and you will be able to look at the entire policy document, but I'll be happy to share some salient features with you. So when I mentioned that this policy is very comprehensive, it means that it has answers or solutions to both sides of the EV equation, which is how do you create demand for EVs, and secondly, how do you encourage people to manufacture and supply EVs. So the demands, to promote the demand side, we have experience now from different countries, from different cities across the world, that the lead is taken by public transportation. Once there are enough number of public transport EVs on the road, that gives a sense of confidence to people that yeah, EVs are working and there won't be any hassle at all. So my colleague, Principal Secretary of Transport, will also share more about the initiatives which the public transportation agencies like RTC and shared mobility players are going to take. But that is a very important part of our policy, that there will be, government will encourage EV adoption in public transport, institutional transport, shared mobility, and logistics and delivery services. Government will also facilitate aggregators which are involved in public transportation with regulatory support to enable them to convert their fleet to EVs. Another very important question, this is a kind of a chicken and egg question. Whenever we talk to EV stakeholders, the standard or the typical question which is asked is there enough charging infrastructure? And even a common person, when he has to transition into an EV, this is the question which is foremost in his mind. Is there an adequate supply of charging infrastructure? So our policy also devotes considerable attention to charging infrastructure. In fact, we have mentioned that the government will facilitate setting up the initial batch of fast charging stations, and our TS Redco is the nodal agency. Janaya Garu is present here. His agency is going to take that responsibility of creating a network of charging stations. Fortunately, in Hyderabad city, another agency which has come up, to take the lead in charging stations is the Hyderabad Metro Rail, which has also decided to have charging stations in all the metro stations. And private providers like Fortum, etc., have joined hands, and Power Grid, etc., have joined hands with petrol companies to set up charging infrastructure in their depots. So we have a very detailed attention on charging infrastructure, as I said. And most importantly, we are very grateful to them. The Electricity Regulatory Commission, ERC, has given a special tariff for charging stations, which is again one of the very few such important decisions taken anywhere in the country, a special tariff rate for charging infrastructure. Similarly, in our town planning policy, I am grateful to the Municipal Administration and Urban Development Department. They have agreed to certain very important norms of having residential townships and other institutions like malls and large institutions to have mandatorily charging stations within their premises. Similarly, the other demand side incentives target the individual users. Many people who are already having a conventional petrol or a diesel vehicle and who may like to shift to an electric vehicle, either because they are more conscious about the environmental consequences, social consequences, or as Dr. Goenka was telling, while the initial cost may be high, the maintenance cost is literally zero, and therefore you end up with large savings. Some of them may be motivated to think about EV. The government will further assist them by providing benefits like waiver of road tax and registration fee, 100% exemption of road tax, and waiver of registration fee for a specified number of vehicles. So, for example, 200,000 two-wheelers, 20,000 auto rickshaws, 5,000 commercial four-wheelers, 10,000 commercial good carriers, 5,000 private cars, 500 buses, and as Mr. Goenka pointed out, we have also included electric tractors. So whenever their Hyderabad factory manufactures electric tractors, they will be hopefully the first recipients of this particular scheme. So again, this is something which will help consumers when they think about the higher cost, and when they look at these offsets which are available, I'm sure they will feel tempted about getting into buying a electric vehicle and using that for their commute. As I mentioned, there are incentives for people who want to manufacture electric vehicles and storage system components in our state, and I'm very happy that today we are signing up with 5 companies who are going to enter into MOUs and who are going to announce their important projects, important investment projects in the state of Telangana, and I won't share the details of those companies. In a moment from now, you will know who they are, what they are going to invest, how many jobs they are going to create, and how their example should be emulated by others, because the incentives which we are giving to manufacturers are perhaps amongst the best in the country. So I do look forward to more and more companies looking at Telangana as the opportunity for setting up their manufacturing facilities. Finally, our state of Telangana is right from day one is recognized as a state which encourages innovation and entrepreneurship, and therefore for EV and ESS segment also, we have created a separate program for promoting innovation in this space. We know that there are lots of studies and research going on across the world in how to make the batteries more long-lasting, how to make battery charging easier. Right now, we heard a while ago Dr. Goenka speaking that lithium iron may not be the sustainable solution. We have to do more research to look at what are the other alternatives. Lots of this research is being done by young people, innovators, startups, etc. So Telangana wants to encourage such people by setting up an EV research hub, and already we have received interest from IIT Hyderabad, who wants to partner the government of Telangana in promoting research. Similarly, we have interest from Japanese companies and corporations also, who want to support collaborative research between Telangana and Japan, located in Hyderabad. So with the help of these institutions, we will set up a center of excellence where research and R&D work will take place. We already have in Hyderabad the Non-Ferrous Technologies Development Center on NFTTC, which is running one such Center of Excellence under the Government of India's FAME scheme. So we intend to partner with them also for promoting research and development. Similarly, T-Hub and T-Works, which are the premier incubators in our state, one for technology startups, other for hardware or prototyping startups. These two will also have a special component, a special focus on EV and ESS. So, as I said, Telangana's reputation of being a state very strongly focused on innovation will be carried forward through our EV and ESS policy also. So, once again, I look forward to everyone's support in propagating this policy into other corners of this country, other corners of the world, and I'm very confident that the vision and mission which our Honorable Minister asked us to articulate in this policy, though we have thought that we will take 10 years time to realize the vision and mission, I am very confident that we will be hitting the target much earlier, thanks to extremely encouraging initial response from people like you. So once again, my gratitude to all the people who were responsible for drafting the EV and ESS policy, and my thanks once again to Honorable Ministers for strongly presenting this policy before the Cabinet and getting Cabinet's approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful overview given on the policy. We would now request Sri Sunil Sharma, sir, IAS, Principal Secretary, Transport, for his kind address.
Honorable Minister for MAUD, IT, Industries and Commerce, Shri KTR, sir. Honorable Minister for Transport, Shri Ajay Kumar, sir. My colleague, Shri Jay Shanjan, Principal Secretary, ITINC, and all the respected guests and all the guests who are attending through the virtual field. It's a very good day for us because this EV policy has been launched by Honorable Shri KT Ramarao sir and Transport Minister sir, and Principal Secretary has taken a lot of pains to see that it was drafted and ultimately it was passed by the Cabinet. As he has mentioned, Mr. Jay Shanjan, that public transport should be taken up in a big way, and that is the thing where ultimately that is going to be the future of transport. So in that field only, the aim of the Transport Department was to see that and ensure that electric vehicles are adopted in a big way. Now we have around 10,500 buses running in the entire state, RTC buses, which are transporting around 1 crore people per day. It is a very big number. So in that we have made a very humble beginning of starting electric vehicles, the electric buses. The number is small, though it's small, but it's a good beginning. We have started with 40 buses. And under the FAME scheme, the scheme that is FAME scheme, that is faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles, under the scheme, with a subsidy of 1 crore rupees to the company which is taking up the electric vehicles. They have started in the city. This was started, and it is doing very well. Because of the COVID situation, it was stopped for some time. Now it's being taken up. Now these vehicles are proving to be very efficient. Our practical experience says that by charging for 3 hours, we are able to run these buses for 300 kilometers. So it is very efficient, and maintenance is almost zero, and people who are boarding this bus also very happy, no pollution, and the people who are running it, they are also very happy. They are also getting good profits, and we are also saving money. RT is also saving money because the money which we were spending on diesel, that has been drastically reduced. Now this we want to, another proposal has been submitted for 325 vehicles under the FAME 2 scheme. So because of all this COVID and all that, it was slightly delayed, but we are sure of getting that also, and once it comes, it will be a big thing, big jump, and later on we'll take many more such vehicles and slowly try to replace our vehicles with these electric vehicles. That will have two advantages. One is it will be pollution free city. We can start in the city because charging stations will be there. Second is that it will save money for the RTC, because today we are spending a lot of money on diesel, but with this we can save a lot of money in form of the savings. Now coming to the charging stations, we have two charging stations right now. One is we have got two charge stations which are there in RTC. We want to set up many more, so that once more vehicles comes, then we'll be able to take up these buses charging in these stations. Now coming to the vehicles which are not RTC buses, there in the policy I have seen very good initiative has been taken to see that exemptions are given to the vehicles, the first 5,000 vehicles or first 10,000 vehicles who purchase these electric vehicles. So this definitely it's a good thing. In that, certain little bit of amendments will have to be made in the GEO that we can take it up. Definitely that's not an issue. Similarly, in a big way, this three-wheelers which are there. So there are Honorable Minister, I was discussing with Honorable Minister of Transport. Honorable Minister has promised to see that it is speeded up, and there also some exemption are needed in the GEO. So with the under the guidance of our Honorable Transport Minister, it will be taken up. Proposal already has been submitted, and that also exemptions can be given, and later on we can take these autos on the city about the electric autos. Some of them are replacements, some of them are the new autos. Now the thing is that with the replacing of these vehicles, now in the city today we have around more than 60 lakh vehicles in the Hyderabad city. In the entire state we have 1.23 crores vehicles. It's a big number. So we can imagine how much of pollution it will be generating. Although vehicles are well maintained, and we are also taking steps and regulating to ensure that pollution checks are done and vehicles are in good condition. But even then also, because it is burning fuel, it will lead to pollution definitely. So that we have to control. So slowly over a period of time, we have to ensure that starting with two-wheelers, then coming to other vehicles, people should be taking up these electric vehicles. For that, these incentives will definitely go in a long way to see that the people come forward and take these vehicles. We have exemption given for the now first 5,000 or 10,000 vehicles if it is given. I mean, seeing these people now, as it was earlier told, now the policy of some of the people is that to wait and watch. Let's see what happens. So once these vehicles come, 10,000, 5,000 vehicles come on the road running successfully, so definitely others will also follow, because this word of mouth publicity spreads that we are able to do it without any maintenance. These vehicles, we are able to save a lot of money monthly because we are not spending on the fuel, we are getting it charged through the electricity. So these type of message once is spread, more and more people will come forward. So definitely this policy, this is the highlight of the policy, giving the exemption for the first 5,000 and 10,000 vehicles in different categories. So we are really thankful to the team, and especially Mr. Jay Ranjan for taking this clause in the policy, which will definitely help in popularizing these vehicles. And regarding the charging stations, I mean, we can have it wherever even in our bus stands also, wherever the space is available, that could be with the permission of our Honorable Minister of Transport, we can discuss it, and there also it could be provided at the charging stations, so that, I mean, which will not obstruct the movement of the buses, but it can also facilitate the charging of other vehicles which are coming there. Because we in our bus stands also, we want to have a multi-pronged approach, that we want to have a PPP model type of thing, where apart from the bus stands and bus depots, we want to have some multiplexes, shopping complexes. In that, this charging station also could be a part of it. Similarly, my suggestion could be that already it is there, it was already discussed in the parking lots where the vehicles are waiting for 3 or 4 hours. So that will have to, I mean, while waiting, it will not be just idle, it will be charging. So that could be taken up in a big way. Now solar paneling could be taken up in a big way, where charging could be through solar energy. So that would be almost free. I mean, the maintenance of the vehicle would be almost free. I was thinking, just imagining one day, Suppose I have a solar panel on the top of my house terrace, and I charge my vehicles, so maintenance would be zero, because it would be everything would be converted to electricity, and that would go in the battery of the car. So that could be taken up in a big way. So many such initiatives could be taken up to ensure that this policy is successful and more people take up. Through the transport department also, I was discussing with the transport commissioner, we can also have some meetings with the people, and we can, whenever they come for renewal of the license and all that, we can educate them about the electric vehicle policy and about the electric vehicles and about the incentives which are given. So this, through that also, message will spread. And with the, showroom people also, we can have meetings. They can also encourage the people. Right now, most of them are, going for this hybrid model. So slowly they can shift. Now, it has been shifted to hybrid model. Now, from hybrid model, it can go to totally electric vehicles. So this type of initiative will definitely go a long way in converting these fuel-run vehicles to electric vehicles. And that would be the day when we would be totally free from the pollution which is being generated through the vehicles. And just imagine the savings which would be there, not only our saving, but staying for the nation, because when we are spending so much of foreign exchange on import of fuel, this diesel and petroleum fuel. So that would be a very big saving, and that money could be diverted for other developmental works. Now then we would not be spending anything on this. We can, ultimately we can go for this solar, and then through that we can run all the vehicles or all the electricity which is generated in the country. So that would be the, in the, broader perspective of it would be that we will be saving so much of money. And then coming down to the, consumer, the savings which he will have per month. If he makes a budget, he or she makes a budget, they can realize how much they would be saving per month, which they are otherwise spending on fuel. And also not only fuel, but the maintenance of the vehicle. Because the vehicle is electrical vehicle, the vibration in the vehicle would be less, maintenance would be less, lesser parts would be there, lesser machinery would be there. So maintenance also will be less. So that will be that will definitely a win-win situation. Only thing, somebody has to take the lead now among the citizens. Now the ball is in the court of citizens now. They have to come forward and purchase the vehicles and go ahead. So for that, this policy will really give a boost to the, changing the mindset of the citizens, and ensuring that they adopt this policy, they purchase electric vehicles and go forward and lead an example for others. Or person purchases, he or she will lead an example for the neighbor, again he will go for that. Then this will spread, and once it spreads, then there will be no looking back, and it will be totally electric vehicle everywhere, and that would be the ultimate aim which everybody wants to achieve. So with this, definitely it's a good beginning for this, and we thank everybody for this, and I thank honorable ministers and also Judge Chandra for giving this opportunity to speak to you. And sir, we assure that from the transport department we will make all efforts to see that this policy is successful. Thank you, sir.
Before we continue with the proceedings, let me have the honor to welcome our Minister, Sri Indrakant Reddy Garu. He is the Minister for Endowments, Land and Environment and Forest. Thank you for joining us, sir. Now we shall have the MOU signing, for which I would request Saket, please get the MOUs. The sequence would be Olectra, Mitra, ETO, and then ARI. The Electro team, please come over, led by Sri Pradeep Garu. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, for your information, Olectra will be manufacturing buses in Telangana. Investment is to the tune of 300 crores. Employment generation would be about 3,500 numbers. Time frame, first phase would be 3 years, and the rest would be 2 years, total of 5 years, and land requirement is about 100 acres. Congratulations, sir. Thank you, sir. Next would be the Mitra team. Mr. Vikram, please come over, and his team. Mitra would be investing about 2,000 crores in this state. Employment generation of 2,250. Product, as already covered, would be electric buses. Time frame would be 3 and 5 years. Land requirement they've asked for is 100 acres initially, plus additional request of 200 acres. Thank you so much. The next MOU to be signed will be ETO Motors team. Mr. Venugopal has not been able to make it, but his team is here. Please come over, sir. Mr. Raval from ETO Motors. The investment would be about 150 crores. Employment generation would be 1,500. EV three-wheelers is the product they will be launching. They're already in the state, but then in the new plant also they will be manufacturing three-wheelers. Time frame of about 3 years and followed by another 2 years for total investment. Next we have MOU signing with ARAI from Pune. Basically, it's a authorizing and certifying agency for not only automobiles, also for EV and EV ecosystem. This will be done virtually. They have sent their signature signed copy to us, and we have sent the signed copy. Respective team members will be signing. Should we finish that first? Before we move on to ARI, we have 2 companies which have given letter of intent this time. Mr. Raja of Gaya Motors, please come over and hand over the letter of intent. Mr. Raja and the team. Thank you, sir. And the last letter of intent is from Pure EV, Mr. Rohit Vadra. Please come over. They will be setting up a 2-wheeler plant in Telangana. Uber का क्या है? They'll be coming here? Yeah, they are here. Mr. Marathi. Sir, we also have Uber team here, who will be making an announcement. Are they here? Please come over. They'll just make a brief announcement and then we'll move on to the next.
Good morning to all. At the outset, let me take this opportunity to thank Honorable Minister for IT, Mr. KTR Garu, Honorable Transport Minister, Mr. Ajay Kumar Garu, and all Mr. Jayesh Ranjan and Sunil Sharma Garu. Let me vouch for the fact that we've gone through multiple electric vehicle policies, and by far this is one of the most comprehensive policy and progressive policies we've seen. We at Uber profoundly believe that sustainable transportation can only be achieved by transitioning cleaner fuels to public transport, and our endeavor in this is to support commercial adoption of vehicles by partnering with OEMs, fleet partners and charging infrastructure stations. As of today, on Uber, we have around 500 plus electric vehicles which have traveled more than 30 lakh kilometers across India. And recently we forged a partnership with Lithium Urban Technologies to onboard another 1,000 electric vehicles across Hyderabad, Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai and Pune. We are also in advanced conversations with OEMs in Hyderabad for the electric auto pilot. In fact, we believe that electric autos could be a perfect catalyst in increased public transport adoption by supplementing the first and last mile transport from public transport network that we've built out in Hyderabad. Additionally, a single window time-bound permit grant process will provide a positive nudge towards increased adoption of electric vehicles. In our recent global sustainability event, which was held a month back, we identified electric vehicles and multimodal transport as the key pillars for sustainability in public transport. In view of this, we've recently launched public transport journey planning in Hyderabad in collaboration with L&T Metro. This tool allows citizens to view estimated time, cost and directions from public metros in the Uber app. So once again, I take this opportunity to thank everyone present here, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll have the MOU signing with ARAI, in which Mr. M.V. Marathe, Director of ARAI, will be signing from Pune, and Mr. Sujay Karampuri will be signing on behalf of the Telangana government. The signed copy from our side is already with Mr. Marathe and the team, and they have sent their signed copy, which we shall sign now in the presence of the Honorable Ministers and the Principal Secretaries. Thank you so much, Marathe sir and team from ARI, and thank you so much, Sujay sir. And next, we would now moving on to, we should continue with our proceedings. I would now request Honorable Minister for Transport, Shri Ajay Kumar Garu, to deliver his perspective.
Honorable Minister for Information Technology, MAUD and Industries, Shri KT Ramarao Garu, Honorable Minister for Endowment and Forests, Shri Indakaran Reddy Garu, Principal Secretary IT and Industries, Shri J.S. Ranjan Garu, Principal Secretary Transport, Shri Sunil Sharma Garu, the dignitaries who are attending this policy launching program physically and virtually, my dear friends, I first of all feel privileged to share this dais with our dynamic and young KTR Ramarao Garu, who in fact is the face of technology and face of change of this new state of Telangana in India. He is the brain behind the changes and the reforms in Telangana. When you take the first policy of TS I-Pass, which has come, and later he has recently came up with TS B-Pass, and today with his great efforts and initiation, the Telangana Electric Vehicle and Energy Storage Policy 2020 to 2030 is being launched. Practically, the Transport Department right now has got the details of, as on 27/10/2020, a total of 5,431 electric vehicles are being registered in Telangana, consisting of mainly 4,292 motorcycles, 491 motor cabs, 194 e-rickshaws and e-carts, and 40 TSRTC electric buses. With this policy which is being launched with the initiation of our great leader KT Ramarao Garu, the main focus and the end user's interest would be what would be the benefits if they go for the electric vehicles purchase. On behalf of the Transport Department, we are proposing in this policy the incentives as follows: that 100% exemption of road tax and registration fee for the first 2 lakh electric two-wheelers purchased and registered in Telangana. Similarly, for the 100% exemption of road tax and registration fee for first 20,000 electric three-wheelers purchased and registered within Telangana, retrofitment incentive at 15% of the retrofitment cost capped at rupees 15,000 per vehicle for first 5,000 retrofit three-seater auto rickshaws in Telangana. Financing institutions shall be encouraged to provide a hire purchase scheme at discounted interest rates. And incentives for the electric four-wheeler commercial passenger vehicles such as taxis, tourist cabs, etc. 100% exemption of road tax and registration fee will be offered for the first 5,000 electric four-wheeler commercial passenger vehicles such as taxis, tourist cabs, and purchased and registered within Telangana. Also, the incentives is being offered to light good carriers including three-wheelers, 100% exemption of the road tax and the registration fee for the first 10,000 electric three-wheeler goods, e-carriers as well as electric light good carriers purchased and registered within Telangana. Also, 100% exemption of road tax and registration fee for the first 5,000 electric four-wheeler private vehicles purchased and registered within Telangana. And finally, the 100% exemption of road tax and registration fee for the 500 electric buses first purchased and registered within Telangana. State transport units shall also be encouraged to purchase electric buses. Already we have 40 electric buses which are plying to the airport. We will also take into consideration of increasing the number of electric buses as far as of the Road Transport Corporation is also concerned. The tractors which also would be encouraged in giving exemption of taxes both under road tax and the registration fee as and when the electric tractors are launched. Now with these incentives from the department, there is another policy matter which has also to be relaxed is the GOMS number 137 and GOMS number 14, which were imposing restrictions on the three-wheelers, auto rickshaws, the replacement and the restrictions GOs which are to be relaxed and which is under the process. So with this, as far as my transport department is concerned, a whopping of few hundred crores of exemptions will be offered to the end users by doing this. Now our request is that these benefits should be passed on to the end user, and the manufacturers are requested from our department and from the government to be more liberal in fixing the prices of the electrical vehicles in all sectors like that is the two-wheelers, three-wheelers and the commercial and non-commercial four-wheeler vehicles. And I profusely thank Sri KT Ramarao Garu for making me part of this policy and inviting me to this, and I really feel privileged to launch this policy along with him. Thanks for the opportunity given to me, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wise words. We now move on to the next event. I would now request Honorable Minister Sri KT Rama Garu to come and give his special address.
Very good morning to all of you. Honorable Minister Transport Sri Ajay Kumar Garu, Honorable Minister for Forest, Environment, Science and Technology, Endowments and Law, Sri Indra Karan Reddy Garu, Honorable Principal Secretary of Roads and Buildings and Transport, Sri Sunil Sharma Garu, Honorable Principal Secretary, Industry and IT, Sri Jayesh Ranjan Garu, TSIC MD Garu, Narasimha Reddy Garu, TS Redco MD Janay Garu, to all the participants, who've just signed memorandums of understanding with the government of Telangana, and to all the friends in the gathering here, a warm welcome to all of you. Before I go into my formal speech, I would also like to acknowledge my bad. We live in a virtual reality kind of situation today, so I forgot to acknowledge Sri Pavan Goenka, who's joined us, especially the chairman, CEO of Mahindra Group, and Sri Sunil Mehta ji of the Yes Bank Group, and Srimati Anna Roy from Niti Aayog. Thank you, madam, for joining us. And please do convey to Mr. Amitabh Kant that we missed him. Before I go into my formal speech, I just wanted to say one thing quickly. I was talking to a friend of mine, after seeing what's been happening around the world, during this pandemic, how nature was healing itself, and I was getting all these videos on social media, how nature really is healing and how the world is so much of a better place, without humans kind of killing whatever we've been doing, inflicting all the damage we've done. One of the things a very learned and a very, knowledgeable friend of mine said, I said, what is the solution going forward from a government perspective? What do we do to make sure that, we help our environment, we pass on a better planet to our children? What do we do? He said something very, very interesting. He said, follow the 3D mantra. I said, what is that? And he said, first thing, focus on decarbonization. Second, focus even more on digitization. And thirdly, focus also on decentralization. Now, I don't need to explain to any of you in this room, decarbonization or digitization. I think you all know it rather well. Now, what did he mean by decentralization? I think what he meant was, see, I also wear the other hat of Minister for Urban Development and Municipal Administration. One of the biggest challenges I face in that ministry is the rapid urbanization and suburbanization that is sweeping our nation. Today, Telangana, in fact, is one of the most urbanized states in India. We're almost 43–44% urban population. And in about 5 to 7 years, in fact, majority of Telangana would be living in urban areas and minority would be living in rural areas. That's the reality. Now, how do we address this? Why do people migrate? Why do people urbanize? People urbanize in search of better livelihoods, in search of better Medicare facilities, in search of better education facilities. So what this learned friend of mine meant was decentralize. While we can't completely contain urbanization, at least we can hope for suburbanization in a structured, planned way. Create more counter-magnets, create more integrated townships, ensure that people actually move further away, create more economic clusters around the city of Hyderabad, as was pointed out by Mr. Goenka. While Mahatma Gandhi was right when he said, India lives in its villages, the fact today, after 75 years of independence, is India is run by its cities. Today, our cities have become the epicenters of economic activity. Today, for instance, if you take the example of Hyderabad, nearly 50% of state GSDP comes from our capital city. Nearly 50% of Telangana's GSDP is contributed by Hyderabad. So therefore, it's extremely important to conserve, to preserve, and to ensure that the economic vitality our cities offer remains intact if we are to grow into a 5 trillion economy, as our Honorable Prime Minister keeps alluding to, or if we really have to get into the league of developed first world countries, as we all combinedly dream of every so often. Now, how do we achieve that? How do we go about doing it? Recently, there was floods in Hyderabad. We all know that. Cloud bursts, climate changes, unseasonal rains, are not only affecting urban denizens, they're also affecting our farmers. They're also affecting people across the world. Now, one of the nicest things and one of the most interesting things I've heard today from the previous speakers was sustainable mobility. You know, we talk about sustainable energy all the time. But today I heard Pawan Goenka mention about sustainable mobility. He also talked about shared mobility. Now, these are the things I think our cities today need if we really have to ensure that we preserve their fabric, we preserve their growth momentum, and we grow into a league of first world country in years to come, years that lie ahead of us. Now, having said that, I believe what has been accomplished is very little, but what lies ahead, the road that lies ahead in terms of ensuring that we get there with respect to sustainable energy and also sustainable mobility is going to be an arduous, is going to be a difficult journey, but I think with all stakeholders participating, governments in cities, governments in state, government in Delhi, and also, when I say Delhi, I don't mean Kejriwal, I mean Government of India, and also all stakeholders, the private sector, the startups, the large OEMs, the aggregators, all of us working together, I think will be, therein lies the real success of this policy launch today. Of course, as was pointed out by my friends earlier, Telangana in fact has come out with an extremely comprehensive policy. It does not talk about electric vehicles in itself. We also have ensured that the energy storage policy is dovetailed with our electric vehicle policy, because these are two extremely tight-knit ideas which need to work together cohesively. Now, I'm also delighted that two very important ministers and their are seated on the dais. For this electric vehicle policy to be successful, I think these three ministries need to work together very, very closely. One is, of course, to promote investments, to promote innovation, industry and IT ministry, which is represented by myself and Jayesh Ranjan. We need to be working closely with our colleagues to ensure that electric vehicles are adopted and people actually lap them up. We need to work closely with Honorable Minister for Transport and his secretary, and to ensure that whatever we do remains in consonance with environment. We need the support of Honorable Minister for Environment, Science and Technology. So the fact that Telangana government has not only thought this through in terms of policy, but also in terms of ensuring that the policy is enforced effectively, implemented effectively, we brought out all stakeholders, and this multi-stakeholder engagement, I believe, will lead to a very successful implementation of this policy that our state has come out with. As I pointed out, Hyderabad is today our capital city, and it is the epicenter of our economic activity. This city today, in fact, I urge not only Mr. Pawan Goenka and to every electric vehicle manufacturer in the city, our dream today, in fact, as we launch this policy, is to make great strides of progress in electric vehicle adoption and also make our city and our state the epicenter of electric vehicle manufacturing and adoption. Now, I offer the city of Hyderabad as a test case for all electric vehicle manufacturers to come and work with us. Come and work with our Hyderabad Metro Rail. Come and work with our MMTS. Come and work with our RTC and see how together we can explore better public transportation solutions, better shared mobility solutions with our aggregators, Uber, Ola, and many others out there. We could work together jointly to ensure that more and more people are taken away from their private vehicles, which are gas guzzlers today, to these wonderful vehicles which are environmental friendly. The state is already, in fact, one of the leaders in sustainable energy production. We've made, as I pointed out, when we started our journey about 6 years ago, we only had 45 megawatts of solar energy being produced from our state. But today, I'm delighted to share with you that we are number 2 in the country with more than 4,100 megawatts of solar energy production in a very, very short span of time. That goes to show you the commitment of our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri K. Chandrasekhar Rao Garu, to renewable energy, to sustainable energy solutions. And we are looking to also, of course, ramp up all possible energy solutions, especially on the sustainable front. Now, when it comes to manufacturing, in fact, I'm delighted today that we've signed about 5 MOUs, not only with manufacturers, but also some regulatory authorities. Our manufacturing sector today, in fact, in Telangana, is, in spite of the fact that we have, someone like Mahindra manufacturing nearly 150,000 tractors, a large OEM from their Hyderabad plant. And I'm delighted, Pawanji, thank you very much if you're listening in, on making the announcement that you're going to bring in the electric tractor with all Japanese technology, and it would be manufactured out of Hyderabad. It's a matter of pride that, the largest, tractor manufacturing facility in Asia today, which is based in Hyderabad, will also start manufacturing electric tractors. I'm sure the farmers in our country would look forward and will surely lap up the advancements that you guys are making in electric tractors as well. Our policy is comprehensive, and therefore today I'm delighted we have Olectra, Mytra, Gayam, and other ETUs and others who have signed ETRIO, have signed MOUs with us. Our policy does not limit itself, though, to electric vehicle manufacturers only. Our incentives, our policy incentives, will also be extended to charging stations and also battery manufacturers. And I'm delighted that we are receiving several players and several proposals with intent to set up charging stations and also storage solutions. Now, I also wanted to quickly point out two things. Like I said, a cohesive approach between departments, between the various facets of my ministry, that is the industry and commerce, also need to be in place if we have to make a EV policy a truly successful policy. So therefore, let me share with you that in our state today we have the largest electronics manufacturing cluster. If you look at them in a combined way, we have more than 1,000 acres of land available at our disposal. One is E-City in Raviriyal and another one in Maheshwaram. Between the two of them, we have 1,000 acres of land at our disposal for electronics manufacturers. Likewise, we also have a huge NIMZ, the National Investment Manufacturing Zone, based out of Hyderabad, where I already mentioned that Mahindra's, one of the largest OEMs of our country, has a significant plant. We would like to promote it as an automobile cluster and ensure that more than 1,000 acres again are allotted for any automaker who would want to come into our state and work with us so as to ensure a complete comprehensive ecosystem of OEM, supply chain can coexist together in one single location. And also, I'm happy to announce two clusters, two industrial clusters. One in the Chandanvalli Sitarampur cluster in Shabad in Rangareddy district, which is already attracting significant investment and which is where I think both Olectra and Mytra are setting up their plants, will shape up into an EV cluster. And also another very important cluster in Divitipalli in Mehboob will also be developed as another new energy park, new energy and new EV cluster. Likewise, we also plan, in fact, to develop a mobility cluster, which I will be announcing soon, possibly sometime next month. We have, again, a number of very interesting technology players and also auto manufacturers who are coming together for the first time in creating this mobility cluster. So this approach of having an automobile cluster, an electronics cluster, an EV cluster, and also a mobility cluster, I think would provide that comprehensive ground for anybody who's interested in electric vehicle space to make Telangana their hub and look nowhere else, no further, for their enterprise and entrepreneurial ideas when it comes to setting up base in India. We will continue, like I said, through TSI Pass and other very progressive initiatives under the dynamic leadership of our Honorable Chief Minister to continue to attract manufacturing and also continue to focus on expanding our research ecosystem through a collaborative effort with the private sector and also the wonderful academic institutions we have. Let me also remind you that Hyderabad, in fact, has a significant base of electronics companies in the form of ECIL, and I'm not talking now, I'm talking legacy. ECIL, BEL, in fact, HAL, and all of these companies, all of these large public sector undertakings, which are having a significant presence in Hyderabad, have shaped up the ecosystem. And there is a large, small and medium entrepreneurial ecosystem that already exists, which will again propel our drive and our ambition to be the leading EV and leading electrified state in the country, as a leader, in fact. And let me just give you some broad statistics. You know, when the world economy and India's economy also, in fact, has not been doing very well for the last more than a few quarters. In fact, as you all may remember, even before Corona hit us, I think the last 8 quarters preceding, you know, the pandemic, also we have seen slowdown across the country. But fortunately for us in Telangana, our annual GSDP growth rate has been consistent. We've been growing at a breakneck speed, and we've been growing at a much, much rapid pace than any other state in the country at 14.2% over the last 5 years. We are consistently ranked as among the top 3 states in the country on the ease of doing business rankings. We have slipped a slot this year, but we'll bounce back, I'm sure. And our TS iPass, which is a landmark single window clearance system, has been instrumental in bringing more than $28 billion of investment in the last 5 years. Telangana continues to remain number 2 as a city and state in IT software exports, but our growth rate has been substantially higher than the national growth rate. In fact, while the country has been growing at about 8%, we've been growing at about 18%, which goes to show you that our growth momentum has not slipped. We've also recently added many EV-related technology firms, such as ZF Automotive and Electronics, ZF Automotive, and electronics firms such as Oppo, Vivo, Skyworth, Intel, Micron. All of them today are having significant presence in our city. Our innovation ecosystem is second to none, with important players in important institutions such as RICH, the Research and Innovation Circle of Hyderabad, TASK, the Telangana Academy for Skill and Knowledge, soon to be coming up T-Works, and of course T-Hub, which is widely known. We intend to leverage our strengths in electronics, aerospace and defense, and information technology sectors, creating synergies, thereby developing as a center for research and innovation for all electric vehicles, battery technologies, and other emerging technologies such as autonomous and connected vehicles. We have taken a pragmatic approach in drafting this policy. We've consulted the industry. We've also discussed with various other public policy institutions, and I guarantee that if we meet the initial numbers, because there might be a concern that the numbers that we've showcased in this policy are on the lower side in terms of adoption. I promise you one thing, that if we meet the initial numbers, I shall go back to the Cabinet and plead with Honorable Chief Minister to further increase the numbers and extend incentives to as many people who adopt to these electric vehicles as possible. As I pointed out, I think the key departments, Transport Department, of course, plays a very important role in regulatory and adoption of EVs. I request the Honorable Transport Minister and Transport Secretary to work with us closely, and let's work together in ensuring that this becomes a success. Energy Department also needs to take measures to make charging easily available. I'm glad that they are represented here by Mr. Janaya, who will ensure, but TS Redco will also set up a lot of charging stations. MA and UD, of course, which is also under my supervision, will ensure all regulatory approvals and setting up of necessary infrastructure with respect to our charging stations that we will be setting up in metro stations and elsewhere. Will also be in parking lots also will be, factored and will be given whatever incentives are required to make it sustainable. We're also, as I pointed out, planning to establish public charging stations at airports, railway stations, metro stations, parking lots, bus depots, markets, fuel stations, malls, etc. And I request all charging station players to come forward and work with us. And we can work with, we're not exclusive to anyone. We will be open. We will work with, all the leading players in the industry in a very transparent fashion. And we look forward to working closely with you. We're already establishing 178 charging stations in Telangana. And the state already, as was pointed out by Honorable Transport Minister, has a fleet of buses plying through TSRTC. We're currently engaging with ARAI, with whom we've just signed an MOU, to collectively work towards promoting research and development for manufacturing of electric vehicle and energy storage systems. Because looking forward, as was pointed out by Anna Roy, India needs to find its own solutions. We cannot be aping the West. We cannot be aping any other country with respect to EVs, because our situation is very different. Our people are very different. Our approach to our roads, our approach to our urban planning, our approach to adoption of technology is very different when compared to other countries and other parts of the world. We believe that the EV adoption would increase more and more since the policy just rolled out today. as was pointed out again by my previous speakers. While Government of India may have launched out their idea, their efforts 3 years ago, I think it's very, very important for the states to join this to actually, gain momentum. And with Telangana now, coming out with its own policy, I believe the adoption would improve and increase at a rapid pace. So we invite the industry in India and abroad to come forward, make Hyderabad as their base for manufacturing operations, as we believe local manufacturing is the key to achieve the price-performance parity and enable faster adoption of electric vehicles. Once again, I thank all the stakeholders who have participated in policy making, who have come forward to invest in the state of Telangana, and I look forward to interacting with you more often and more closely to ensure that Telangana truly becomes the hub for electric vehicles in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for providing the strategic perspective for manufacturing ecosystem in Telangana. Now we have Mr. Vijay Madhuri to come and give his talk.
Sir, for changing slides, you need to tell the host to change the next slide. Like if you integrate next slide,
Sure.
you will change.
Sure.
Honorable Minister KTR Garu, Ajay Garu, Indrakaran Garu, Principal Secretaries Jayesh Ranjan Garu and Sunil Sharma ji, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. Although I have to say it's very tough to speak immediately after KTR Garu and hold the spell of the audience. I'll try to do my best and also keep it short. We are actually promoting a company called Watts and Volts, which is an important stakeholder, we believe, in the shared mobility space, because we are going to be doing the first mile and last mile connectivity that enables people to use not only electric vehicles, but also use public transportation, such as metros and buses. So this enables people to avoid getting crammed into shared autos, especially in view of the current pandemic that we are going through. There is a lot of reluctance to use public transportation because of the fear of getting crammed into shared autos for the first mile and last mile. So we are going 100% electric. We are starting with micro-mobility with e-bikes, e-mopeds and e-scooters. And we want to keep it as a simple pay and use system that would be available at all the major areas of the city and with a planned expansion for the rest of the country. It is based in Hyderabad, yes. Of course, it's based in Hyderabad. I also want to thank you, sir, and also commend the state of Telangana for always being pioneers in the areas, not in just in IT and pharma, but also now coming up with these policies on electric vehicles. We also plan to expand soon into Mumbai and Goa, sir, and then cover the other major metros in the in the country. Our partners, majorly Mr. Kedar and Vamsi, we all come from different backgrounds, but we are bound by the IT mantra, and we wanted to start a business that has not just a technology challenge, but also an exponential social impact, which we believe, I think this is exactly the right business, and I couldn't have found a better place to announce the launch of the company. Apart from the three of us, while we were actually looking for other promoters, we are also very lucky to find two celebrity promoters who actually share our vision in terms of what we are trying to do, social impact and the impact with respect to promoting EVs, with respect to promoting public transportation. One of them is right here, Mr. Vijay Devarkonda, the youth icon and pan-India star. The other gentleman who couldn't join us is Mr. Sunil Shetty. He wanted to join remotely, but he's in a hill station where there is a poor Wi-Fi connection, so he excused himself today. So we are very proud that we'll be launching in early 2021 with Hyderabad as our first base, and then expanding further into Mumbai, Goa, and then other cities. I would like to invite Mr. Vijay Devarkonda to say a few words here about the business and the reason why he sees it as important. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Too many respected leaders of the industry and policymakers here. I cannot wish you all by name, but my regards to all of you present here and present online. I'm from this city, so what's happening here, I love it. While growing up, as a kid, I've always had this opinion that we as a country somehow worked in hindsight. I thought that we always waited for a problem to happen, let it get really serious till it became a deal breaker and then try and find solutions. But over the last 5-6 years, what I've been seeing governments working with foresight. This state has become like a state of dreams. Like be it having 24/7 power supply, like my village, my district, we have water which for farming and people are getting 2 crops a year. There's more money to spend. The land rates have gone up. All this is like magical to us. We haven't seen it in life. Be it T-Hub, be it iPass. Like these are like few of the 100 things that I am aware of. And now this Telangana e-vehicle summit, this is like foresight, and I love what is happening. And as you can see, a lot of it has happened under our current Chief Minister KCR Garu's administration, and KTR Anna, congratulations for what all's happening. I've always said we are in good hands. Other than when we have these like extraordinary crippling circumstances like the pandemic or these rains, but I'm sure we'll be well prepared. And as you see, I believe e-vehicles are the future. I'm no expert in this field, but I believe they are the future, and as you can see, I'm betting on it. So watts and volts, early Jan next year, we'll bring a beautiful product, and we hope to add to the clean, better lifestyles of Hyderabad. We hope to add to how beautiful our city is and improve our lifestyles. That's it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, with this we come to the close of the session. Thank you for being such a wonderful virtual and in-person audience. I now hand over you to Mr. Jayesh Ranjan for closing remarks.
I would like to inform members of the audience that from 12:15 onwards, there will be a very interesting virtual panel discussion which will involve very eminent industry leaders like Ms. Sulajja Firodia Motwani of Kinetic Green, Mr. Rahul Bharti of Maruti Suzuki, Mr. A.K. Jindal from Tata, Mr. Pradeep Parameshwaran from Uber, Mr. Priyank Agarwal from Exicon, and Mr. Rohit Vadera from Pure Energy. I would request audience members, if they want to participate and watch the panel discussion from this hall, it will be available on the big screen. Otherwise, you are welcome to watch it online from anywhere. Thank you very much.
Also, kindly note there's lunch being served in executive lounge at 1 o'clock. So kindly stay put and be there for lunch by 1 o'clock or so.